It was just another day at the Bennett Naval Academy in Virginia. The cadets were fully immersed in their daily routines, morning drills, tactical exercises, and physical endurance challenges. The air was charged with determination, the sound of boots hitting the ground, and the sharp commands from instructors pushing trainees to their limits. Then, something unusual happened. A convoy of sleek black SUVs appeared at the academy gates. No media, no ceremony, just an unmistakable sense of authority. The lead vehicle came to a stop, and out stepped former President Donald Trump. His arrival was like a wave hitting the academy. Cadets and instructors exchanged curious glances, murmurs rippling through the air. The academy's commanding officer rushed forward to greet him, but Trump simply waved him off. He wasn't there for pleasantries. His eyes scanned the cadets, assessing their every move with careful precision. Trump wasn't there for politics. He had a different agenda. Among the cadets, one stood out: Ethan Hayes, a 24-year-old cadet known for his natural leadership skills and relentless determination. That morning, Ethan was leading a tactical drill with confidence, his voice sharp and steady, issuing orders that resonated with authority. Trump observed him closely. He could see it: discipline, focus, the kind of drive that defined a true leader. After a few moments, Trump turned to the nearest drill instructor. "Give me your hardest challenge," he said, his voice unwavering. The instructor hesitated. "For him?" Trump nodded. "Let's see if he's the real deal." Excitement spread through the cadets as word quickly spread. Within minutes, a challenging endurance course was set up. Ethan's task: a grueling obstacle course where he would have to carry a 70-pound rucksack through mud, over rocks, under barbed wire, and end with a climb up a towering, steep wall, a challenge that had broken even the toughest recruits in the past. Ethan stood at the starting line, adjusting the heavy pack on his back. He exhaled deeply. This was it. The whistle blew. He took off, pushing through mud, water, and barbed wire. His body screamed with exhaustion as he neared the final wall. His arms and legs were on fire, and his grip was slipping. Doubt crept in. Then a voice called out from below. "You don't quit. Not now. Not ever." Ethan looked down, and there was Trump, standing at the base of the wall, arms crossed, eyes locked on him. "America needs leaders who push through when things get tough," Trump said. "Show them what you've got." Ethan's fatigue seemed to vanish in that moment. Trump's words lit a fire inside him. With gritted teeth, he pulled himself up the wall, each movement a battle, but he refused to stop. The cadets watching cheered him on. Step by step, he climbed higher, until, with one last powerful effort, his hand hit the top of the wall. He made it. The academy erupted in applause. Even the toughest drill sergeants nodded in approval. Trump smiled slightly. "That's what real leadership looks like," he said. Later that evening, as Ethan sat alone in his barracks, a stack of paperwork before him, he was thinking about more than just his training. He was on the verge of losing his scholarship. His financial situation was growing dire, and he had been considering dropping out to find work to support his family. The next morning, he was summoned to the commanding officer's office. His heart raced as he walked through the door. The commander handed him an envelope. "This is for you," he said. Ethan opened it slowly, his hands trembling. Inside was a letter, a full scholarship, covering all expenses. His mind raced. Who had arranged this? The commander smiled slightly. "He didn't want you to know it was him." Ethan rushed outside, scanning the grounds. Trump was already heading back to his motorcade. "Mr. President," Ethan called out, his voice urgent. Trump paused and turned, waiting. Breathless, Ethan held up the letter. "Why me? Why did you do this?" Trump studied him for a moment before responding. "Because I know real potential when I see it," he said. "And when I see it, I invest in it." Ethan swallowed hard, still in disbelief. "I'll never waste this chance." Trump nodded. "I know you won't." With that, He turned and walked toward his vehicle, leaving the academy behind. The news of Ethan's scholarship spread quickly. It wasn't just about the financial relief. It was about recognition, about someone believing in his potential. It inspired the entire academy. Cadets pushed themselves harder, took on leadership roles, and refused to quit. The academy, already known for its discipline, now hummed with a new energy. Months later, Ethan stood on the graduation podium, his heart pounding. He looked out at the sea of cadets, officers, and family members. "A leader doesn't demand respect," he said, his voice steady. "A leader earns it through every challenge, every setback, and every victory." In the back row, a familiar figure watched from afar. Trump. As Ethan finished his speech, their eyes met. Trump gave a small, approving nod. The crowd erupted into applause. But Ethan knew the real victory wasn't in the speech. It was in the journey. After the ceremony, Trump approached him again. "You lived up to what I saw in you," Trump said. Ethan smiled. "Did I?" Trump chuckled softly. "You tell me." Then, as he turned to leave, he called back. "The Navy's always looking for leaders. Ever thought about commanding a fleet?" Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "I'll be watching," Trump said, stepping into his SUV. As the motorcade drove away, Ethan looked around at his fellow cadets. Future leaders, warriors, protectors of the nation. This was just the beginning. Ethan Hayes was settling into his new life aboard the USS Valor, and the pressure was real. His days had become a whirlwind of drills, tactical simulations, and real-world responsibilities. It wasn't the cadet life he had known at Bennett Naval Academy. This was different, more intense, more urgent. Every decision he made could mean the difference between success and failure. One crisp morning, Ethan stood on the bridge, scanning the horizon as the ship cut through the waves. The crew was busy with their daily routines, but today felt different. There was a palpable tension in the air, as if something was just about to happen. As his hand rested on the rail, Ethan felt the weight of the responsibility on his shoulders. He was no longer just a cadet. He was a leader in the fleet. The sound of footsteps behind him broke his concentration. Admiral Rachel Pierce approached, her face set in a look of determination. "Hayes," she said, her voice steady but serious. "We've got a situation. You need to be ready." Ethan straightened up, his heart rate quickening. "What's going on, Admiral?" "Intel suggests a possible escalation in the South China Sea. We've been asked to conduct a reconnaissance mission near the area. It's a delicate situation, and we'll need to be cautious." Ethan nodded, immediately understanding the gravity of the situation. The South China Sea wasn't just any body of water. It was a hotbed of international tensions, with countries vying for control over valuable maritime resources. "We'll be ready, Admiral," Ethan said, his voice unwavering. The next few hours were a blur as the USS Valor sailed toward the potential hot zone. Ethan was given control of a small team to monitor and assess any threats that might arise. His every move was being watched, not only by the crew, but also by Admiral Pierce. The pressure was mounting, but Ethan remained focused. As they neared the coordinates, Ethan stood at the radar station, his eyes scanning the blips on the screen. A sudden signal caught his attention. The radar picked up an unidentified vessel maneuvering suspiciously close to their position. "Admiral," Ethan said, keeping his voice calm, "we've got a ship coming into range. It looks like a Chinese destroyer." Admiral Pierce stepped forward, her eyes narrowing as she studied the radar. "Stay on them. Keep your distance, but be ready for anything. This could escalate quickly." Ethan's mind raced. He knew the stakes. One wrong move could turn this situation into something far worse. He turned to his crew, issuing orders with precision, ensuring they were ready for any potential conflict. The ship's officers responded without hesitation, confirming their readiness. For what felt like hours, The Valor kept its distance, maintaining a careful watch on the Chinese ship. Tension hung in the air like a thick fog, everyone on edge, waiting for the next move. As the destroyer came closer, Ethan could feel the eyes of his crew on him. It was his moment to prove himself. "Command, this is USS Valor," Ethan said, his voice steady but firm. "We've made visual contact with the Chinese destroyer. Requesting instructions. Over." The reply came quickly. "Hold your position, Valor. Stay clear of their path. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary." Ethan's mind was sharp, his instincts kicking in. "Understood, Command. Holding position." Hours passed, and the situation remained tense but contained. The Chinese destroyer eventually made a sharp turn and veered off, leaving the Valor unharmed. The crisis had de-escalated, but Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The real test of leadership was what came next. Later that evening, after the tension had died down, Admiral Pierce sought him out. They met on the bridge, overlooking the calm sea. "You did well today, Hayes," she said, her voice softer now. "This wasn't an easy situation, and you handled it with composure. But remember, leadership isn't just about staying calm in a crisis. It's about making decisions that affect the lives of everyone you lead." Ethan nodded. "I understand, Admiral. I'm just doing my job." Pierce's eyes locked onto his. "It's more than just a job. You've been chosen for this path because you've got something special. But the real challenge is maintaining that focus, even when the pressure gets unbearable." Ethan looked out at the vast ocean, contemplating her words. The storm was coming. He could feel it in his bones. But he wasn't backing down. He had already proven he could handle pressure, and he was ready for whatever lay ahead. The next day, as the USS Valor sailed deeper into the South China Sea, Ethan stood at the radar station again. His mind focused. He wasn't just a cadet anymore. He was becoming the leader the Navy needed. And with that thought, he prepared for the next chapter in his journey. The challenges would only grow tougher, but one thing was clear. Ethan Hayes was ready. Ready to face the unknown. Ready to rise. And he wasn't alone. His team, his crew, they were all in this together. With every wave that broke against the ship, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was the life he had chosen. And this was just the beginning. The future was uncertain. But Ethan knew one thing for sure. Leadership wasn't about power. It was about the people you led. And with them by his side, there was nothing he couldn't accomplish. As the Valor sailed into the horizon, Ethan Hayes stood tall, ready to face whatever challenges the future would bring. As the USS Valor sliced through the vast ocean, Ethan stood on the deck, looking out at the endless horizon. The weight of leadership was never far from his mind, but now it felt different, more like a calling than a burden. He had proven himself in the academy, during intense drills, and now in the heat of real-world challenges. But one thing remained clear. His journey was far from over. Ethan took a deep breath, the salty air filling his lungs. He was ready for whatever came next. Then a familiar voice broke through the quiet. "You've come a long way, Hayes," Admiral Pierce said, stepping up beside him. "But remember, this is just the beginning. Leaders don't stop. They inspire, they push forward, and they never let their team down." Ethan nodded, a sense of resolve settling over him. He was ready. The ocean stretched out before him, a world full of uncertainty and possibility. But in that moment, Ethan knew one thing for sure. Leadership was about more than just decisions. It was about resilience, about lifting others when they fell, and about continuing, even when the road seemed impossible. What about you? When was the moment you realized you were a leader? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and share your journey. Because true leadership isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about stepping up, no matter what. And if you're ready to take on the next challenge, hit that subscribe button. The story doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Stay strong, stay focused, and never stop rising.